What if I told you that becoming a millionaire isn't reserved for celebrities, athletes, or business owners? Most people believe wealth is something that happens to other people. People with better jobs, people with higher incomes, people who were simply lucky. But Jake Carter used to think exactly the same way. Jake lived an ordinary life. He had bills to pay, rent every month, groceries, utilities, and all the unexpected expenses that seem to appear when you least expect them. Like millions of people, Jake worked hard every day. Yet despite all his effort, financial freedom felt incredibly far away. Then one evening, while reviewing his finances, Jake discovered a simple idea. An idea that changed everything. The idea wasn't about making money fast. It wasn't about gambling on stocks. And it definitely wasn't about becoming rich overnight. Instead, it was about consistency. Small actions repeated over a long period of time. At first, the concept sounded too simple. How could small investments really create life-changing wealth? But as Jake started learning more, he realized something surprising. The world's most successful investors weren't relying on luck. They were relying on time. Time allowed their investments to grow. Time allowed compound interest to work. Time turned small amounts of money into large amounts of wealth. For the first time, Jake stopped asking how to get rich quickly. Instead, he asked a different question. How can I build wealth slowly and predictably? That single question started a journey that would completely transform his future. And today, we're going to follow that journey together, because what Jake discovered could change the way you think about money forever. Jake couldn't stop thinking about that number, $1 million. For most people, it sounds impossible. A number reserved for wealthy entrepreneurs, celebrities, and investors. But Jake wanted to understand something. Why does everyone talk about $1 million? Why not 500,000? Why not 2 million? The answer surprised him. Because $1 million isn't just a number. It's a financial tool. A tool that can potentially create income for the rest of your life. Jake learned that wealth isn't measured by how much money you earn. It's measured by how much money continues working when you're no longer working. Imagine waking up every morning knowing your investments are still generating growth. Imagine taking a vacation without worrying about missing a paycheck. Imagine having the freedom to choose how you spend your time. That's what financial freedom means. Jake then discovered something called the 4% rule, a simple concept used by many long-term investors. The idea is that if someone builds a $1 million investment portfolio, they may be able to withdraw a small percentage each year while allowing the portfolio to continue growing. Suddenly, $1 million wasn't just a dream. It became a destination, a target, a goal worth pursuing. But there was still one problem. Jake wasn't rich. He didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. So how could someone starting from zero ever reach $1 million? The answer wasn't a secret stock. It wasn't a lucky investment. It was something much simpler. Time, consistency, and compound growth. Those three things would change everything. Jake sat back and looked at the numbers again. The more he studied investing, the more he realized something surprising. Building wealth wasn't about being lucky. It wasn't about finding the next hot stock. And it definitely wasn't about becoming rich overnight. It was about consistency. The 30-year plan seemed boring at first, but boring can be powerful. Jake imagined investing a small amount every day. Not enough to hurt his budget. Not enough to change his lifestyle. Just enough to build a habit. The first year wasn't exciting. His portfolio moved slowly. There were days when the market went down. There were weeks when nothing seemed to happen. Sometimes he wondered if investing was even worth it. But then he remembered why he started. Every dollar he invested was buying a small piece of his future. Year after year, he kept going. While many people chased quick money online, Jake stayed focused on the long game. Slowly, his account balance began growing. 5 years passed, then 10. The portfolio was now much larger than the amount he had personally invested. That was the first time Jake truly understood compound growth. His money was working even while he slept, even while he worked, even while he spent time with family. The investment machine never stopped. As the years passed, growth accelerated. The gains became larger. The portfolio became stronger. And eventually Jake realized something incredible. The hardest part wasn't making money. The hardest part was staying consistent long enough to let time do its work. By the time retirement arrived, Jake wasn't worried about money anymore. His patience had transformed into financial freedom, and it all started with small decisions repeated over and over again. Not everyone wants to wait 30 years. Jake understood that. Many people start investing later in life. Others simply want to reach their goals faster. That's where the 20-year plan comes in. The destination remains the same: $1 million. But now the journey becomes more demanding. Jake would need larger contributions, greater discipline, and a stronger commitment. At first, this felt intimidating. But when he broke it down month by month, it became manageable. Instead of focusing on the entire 20 years, Jake focused on today. One contribution at a time. 1 month at a time. 1 year at a time. As his portfolio grew, his confidence grew too. The account balance reached milestones much faster than before. The results were visible. The progress felt real. Friends began asking questions. People wanted to know how he was building wealth so quickly. The answer was simple: consistency, not perfection. There were still market crashes. There were still scary headlines. There were still moments of doubt. But Jake had a plan. And a good plan is often more important than perfect timing. Halfway through the journey, the portfolio had become a major financial asset. The numbers looked impressive. But Jake understood the real victory. He had built discipline. He had built habits. And those habits were creating wealth automatically. 20 years later, the account crossed the $1 million mark. The goal was achieved. Not because the market was perfect, but because Jake stayed committed when most people would have quit. Now came the most ambitious challenge of all: the 10-year plan. The same destination, the same $1 million goal, but this time, Jake had only 10 years to make it happen. At first, that sounded exciting. After all, who wouldn't want to become financially free in just a decade? But Jake quickly learned something important. A shorter timeline demands greater commitment. There are no shortcuts, no magic tricks, no secret formula hidden somewhere on the internet. Only discipline, only consistency, and only action. Unlike the 30-year plan, time couldn't do most of the work anymore. Jake had to become more aggressive with his savings, more intentional with his spending, and more focused on his long-term goals. Every dollar suddenly had a purpose. Every purchase became a decision. Jake began asking himself a simple question before spending money: will this help my future, or only satisfy me for a few minutes? That question changed everything. Instead of chasing temporary happiness, he started building permanent wealth. Month after month, he continued investing. Some months were easy, others were difficult. There were unexpected expenses. There were market downturns. There were moments when giving up seemed easier. But Jake kept going because he understood that successful investors aren't people who never face problems. They're people who keep moving forward despite those problems. As the years passed, the results became impossible to ignore. His portfolio grew larger, his confidence grew stronger, and his understanding of money improved dramatically. By year 5, Jake realized he wasn't the same person anymore. He had developed patience, discipline, and a long-term mindset. The portfolio wasn't the only thing growing. Jake was growing too. Year 6 arrived. Then year 7. The numbers became larger than he had ever imagined. For the first time, financial freedom didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. It felt achievable. By year 8, the finish line was finally visible. The account balance continued climbing. Every market gain felt meaningful. Every contribution pushed him closer to his goal. Then came year 9. The excitement was impossible to ignore. Jake knew he was close. Very close. And finally, year 10 arrived. Jake logged into his investment account. His heart was racing. He looked at the screen, and there it was. $1 million. A number that once felt impossible. A goal that once seemed too far away. Now it was real. Not because Jake was lucky. Not because he discovered a secret investment. Not because he was smarter than everyone else. But because he started. And more importantly, because he never stopped. At that moment, Jake learned the biggest lesson of his entire financial journey. Wealth isn't created overnight. It's created through thousands of small decisions repeated consistently over time. The choice to save, the choice to invest, the choice to stay patient, the choice to keep going when others quit. Whether your journey takes 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, the principles never change. Start early if you can. Start today if you haven't. Stay consistent. Trust the process. And give your money time to work for you. Because years from now, you'll look back at this moment, and you'll either be thankful that you started, or you'll wish you had. The future version of yourself is depending on the decisions you make today. So take the first step, stay committed, and begin building the life you truly want. Because financial freedom isn't reserved for a lucky few. It's available to anyone willing to stay consistent long enough to reach it.